Oh, right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning to you. Whenever it is you tune in, hope all is going well for you. It is I, Tyndale, with me back from his homecoming performance, which we will probably not discuss because it's a sore spot. It's Trey. Um,
What's going on,
missed you
guys?
last week.
I'm just gonna let you guys know right now. We did lose the game pretty badly. It's 38-0, but we went against a private school that also has about 150 to 200 D1 and D2 offers. And as a person who stays in a small city in a small school with literally only D1 offer, hey, just gonna scratch that and let it go, let it go. Gonna be fine. Gonna be just fine.
2 weeks to go. Got to finish strong. All right, so let's take a look at who is here joining us right now. We got Blackberry, like I mentioned before. We got Cardio Walker. Of course, he would show up because this is his week where we get to talk about his team. And speaking of which, well, well, we're gonna get into it. But and if you guys were with me last week, at the end of it, we were playing some Immaculate Grid together as a chat, and we're gonna be doing the same thing. I had introduced Trey to the game just before we started the stream. So we're going to be doing that afterwards. And then, since we have a one-on-one opportunity here, we're going to be doing a tic-tac-toe using Immaculate Grid section. If you need more details, I'll describe it by the time that we get there. How's it going, everybody that's tuning in right now? Show of hands. Show of hands. Who's here? As we wait for that, let's take a look at what we got here in this matchup. But before we do that, so Trey,
Yo, yo, yo.
what did we witness 6 days ago in the fourth quarter?
Mm-mm-mm. Um, you know, after the game, if it will, of course, you're in the Discord. But if anyone that's watching this live is in Matt Mike's Discord, no, I had a lot of reasoning and talking to do. Um, like I said, with every loss, there's frustration. So I get that one. It's always going to be frustrating. You never want to lose a game. You always want to go 17-0. But the likelihood of that happening is 1 out of 1,000. It's only been done one time over what 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago.
Well, 72. So
uh, 1882, 92. Two,
61.
yeah, 61. Yeah, so 61 years ago. That's when that happened. So like I
No,
said, likelihood of
50.
that,
51. My bad.
yeah.
I I math sometimes.
Jesus,
So
man, me and you both. But yeah, likelihood of that happening was 1-0. So um last week I told you guys, well, no, I had this in my mind that I would have told you if I was on live, that we were going to have to get our running game kick-started for us to take pressure off Desmond. Of course, that did not happen. We ran the ball for over 20 times and we only ran for about 50 yards. That is staggering to me because it's just like ever since the Detroit game, we can't run the ball. And we have a top 10 running back and maybe in a top five running back two in the league. So it doesn't really make sense to me. Um, so of course that didn't work. We threw the ball 47 times. Never again. Don't want to see that ever, ever again. Now, were the amount of passes that were bad to good bad? No, he had, like, other than the three picks, about five bad passes that you say, wow, you just like you kind of want that back. A lot of people point out, other than the interceptions, the Van Jefferson shot. I felt like that was more on Van Jefferson. Well, not really more on Van Jefferson, but more of just chemistry isn't there. Because as you know, a lot of quarterbacks, when they throw a deep post, they like to lead a wide receiver over the field. Some quarterbacks like to lead a wide receiver up the field. Matthew Stafford was more of a mix of both, but most of the time when he hit Van Jefferson over the field, it was across the field. As you've seen with Desmond Ritter, he likes to lead guys up the field. So the more you get that in tune in chemistry, we're going to hit one of those sooner than rather than later. It could be tomorrow because if we're being honest, the Bucks secondary is not that good. Really, what carries them is that front seven, but it's always carried them since their Super Bowl run. So I'm not going to get too much into that until later. But um, I did not like the what's the word for it? The operation of the offense in those last. Really, I can just say the entire fourth quarter. We started out the fourth quarter at like the 6 yard line, ended up throwing a touchdown to Janu, and then we went for two. And I love Arthur Smith, and I think he's going to be a great head coach. I say this every week. The reason he said we went for two is because we went for it last year against Tampa Bay and LA while we were down in both of those games. This game was very much different because both of those games we were literally fighting to get back into the game from the third quarter. No, really from the second quarter on. This game was close the entire game. You knew the offense if you just pinned them from till about between the 20 and the 30, that Washington team wasn't going to drive downfield. And they only did it once, and that was the first drive. Of course, they settled for a field goal. Every other score they had, they didn't even have to travel half of the field. I think their longest scoring drive was 47 yards. So as you've seen, they didn't have to drive downfield that much to go get a touchdown. Two, I don't know what the problem is that we almost had 6 delay of game calls or 7 and had to blow a timeout after a spike for one, but that was embarrassing. And no, I can tell by your face you don't want to remember that, but that was embarrassing.
Man, it was 31 seconds left to go, 34 yards away. Like
You
one last
just,
timeout.
you
And we were
just
still down by 8 because we didn't go for
extra point.
the extra point.
Now,
Which in my like
what I thought was maybe Young Kwiku's hurt. I haven't had an injury report on him all week, so he's 100% healthy. He's
I
fine. He
haven't
can
had an
boot
injury
it,
report all season.
so he can boot it. So if you know your offense has been kind of stagnant, not really all game, but all year, you've had about no, you've had 2 games to where that entire second half y'all were pushing the ball downfield. The Houston game and the Packers game, to where you knew you were going to get points. If you knew it's been hard to get points this entire game, why are you trying to go for two? And if you don't get it, you know it's going to be harder to go for two next time because now the players know even if we score, now we can't rely on our top 3 kicker in the league. Now we got to go do it again. We got to stay out there and do it again. Not to say they can't or they couldn't, but that's just not what you want to do. That puts too much pressure, not just on your young quarterback, but the entire offense. Because as we know, the oldest player we have on offense is Cordell Patterson, and he rarely plays. The oldest wide receiver we have on the team is 26. Okay, so realistically, this offense is very, very, very
Well, the oldest
well.
receiver is Mac Hollins with 30.
Oh yeah. So,
But he's not
like,
like the longest tenure player.
yeah. He's hasn't really. I don't think he's ever started before this year. So, yeah. But yeah, I didn't like that call. Desmond had a couple. Okay, I want to say this. All 3 of those picks are not on Desmond Ritter. One of them, yes. I don't know what he was doing, throwing a prayer,
I
a
would say
duck prayer.
I would say that the last one to Bijan on
Yeah.
that slant, that was just behind him. It was like
Now, see, the thing
just couldn't
is,
catch up to Bijan's acceleration.
the thing is though, Bijan, it's kind of like a 50-50 thing. The throw, yes, was behind. I'll give him that. The throw was a little behind. It was like on his back shoulder. You always want to slant to either be on his numbers or on the front shoulder so that the defender can't jump the ball like he did. One, we ran that exact same play except on a different side, the Green Bay game, so they knew it was going to come. Two, I think Bijan didn't run his route to the best he could. Not to say he didn't put any effort into it, but one, he snapped the route off too quick. It was like 1-2 step cut inside. If you're gonna throw the slant, one, by the time Desmond got the ball, Bijan was already getting ready to cut upfield. So now Desmond's a little rushed on the play. He's got to get the ball, set his feet, look up, throw the ball. So the timing's off on a little bit on that. Two, I don't know if you noticed, but Bijan kind of drifted upfield like he did. Now, see, like last time, the ball was in front of him, so he was able to drift upfield and catch the ball. You can't do that every slant. You can't count on that every slant. Before the ball was even thrown, he's starting to drift upfield instead of staying on this kind of slant. You know how you stay across the field instead of drifting upfield like it's a fly. That kind of gave Jamin Davis a window to go underneath him and where he was supposed to be, Jamin Davis was, and of course the pick ended up happening. So that's why I'm saying it's more like a 60-40 more on Ritter because one, he's got to get that ball more in front of him. But Bijan's got to know, okay, I got to sail like I'm cutting to the outside or sail like I'm running a fly or an out or something. Cut into the slant, give Desmond just enough time to be able to set his feet because that's where he's going. We all knew Desmond was going to be. And as soon as you seen Bijan on a linebacker, that's where you're going to go. I don't care who. I don't care if you have. Well, no, I was about to say I don't care if you have Drake London on the defensive line, and then you take that. But if you have the quickest, best route runner as a running back, other than Christian McCaffrey against Jamin Davis, I'm taking that 99 out of 100 times, unless Bijan is hurt. Then I'm looking somewhere else.
And here's the thing, right? Because we just talked about the situation a little bit. Jamin Davis, of course, has outside leverage because he doesn't want to give up the out of bounds play. We don't have any more timeouts. So if we're going to go in the middle of the field, they would rather take that than to, give us another opportunity to stop the clock. So you really don't have a reason to be beaten inside by the linebacker given that scenario. Like, he doesn't want to get you outside. How did he beat you inside on a slant?
That's the thing, because he played outside leverage too. That's
he
the thing.
he had to have like shot his route upwards, right? And what you just talked about with Van Jefferson, like sometimes you will make that throw deep and then either go across the field or like above them, depending on where the safety's playing. Other times, if you see that your receiver is behind the two defenders, you have to flatten the route. It looks like an underthrown pass, but no, that's on purpose because you have to make sure that you're in a position where only your receiver can make this catch. If not, then you're throwing into double coverage and it looks stupid. So you have to go through those scenarios, right? Like if you throw it too far inside, that's not a problem because nobody else was inside, right? Like if you throw it outside, then that's exactly where Jamin Davis was. So yeah, Desmond Ritter threw that pass behind him, but Bijan as a route runner has to understand where he is in relation to not only the play but also the game itself, right? I think that has to be coached up. I don't know why that like appeared in a week 6 game like this when we were looking good on those other previous drives with him as the receiver, right? Because like we saw how perfect this come from behind offense can look like against Green Bay, right? Like we have this within us. We had 3 chances to go down and score, even a field goal point. Which, by the way, I'm just gonna mention this. I don't know where you're getting this from. I just looked up Younghoe Koo's entire career, and he is perfect from field goals in between the 20 to 29 yards away. He's only missed two, and that was one in 2019 and one in 2020 from 30 to 39 yards away. And he's missed a couple from 40 to 49 yards away, and he's still pretty good from beyond 50. Like I said, like we're talking about one of the most accurate kickers of all time. That's still a true statement for him. I don't know where you're getting this, but he can definitely kick short. That's his bread and butter, especially when we had three chances in field goal range to kind of give him the opportunity to try something, right? If you're going to go for two down 14 like a normal team, then surely you would try to take points as soon as you have the opportunity to take them, right?
Yeah.
Again,
And the thing is, those two kicks
here,
that he
let's share the screen. Let's share the screen, okay? I'm not capping. This is kicking regular season Younghoe Koo his entire career. What does that say? From in his entire career, he is 38 of 38 made kicks from 20 to 29 yards out. From 30 to 39, field goals made 42 of 40, 40 to 49, 43 out of 30, 34 out of 43. From 50 away, he is 20 out of 25. In total, he is 89% and a 94% on his extra points. That is about as good as you can get in the NFL.
and two kicks he missed
Again,
from 30.
I'm looking at the entire thing. There he is. He's still one of the best.
And always
I don't
will
want
be,
this.
man.
I don't want this knowledge trying to pass around when it's not true. So we good here? He can definitely kick short. That's the only place where he hasn't missed when it comes to a regular field goal, which is the positions that we would have given him had we tried to take the points. So, anyways.
Also, those two kicks he missed were outside both times. Windy. Between, I think the 30, the first one I remember is the Chiefs game back in 2019. Or no, that was 2020. Game in 2020 when he missed that like 37-yard kick to tie it up. And then 2019, I think that was an outside game.
I feel like no, I'm thinking back to 2018 because that was Matt Bryant against the Cardinals that one game. But yeah, I don't want that narrative spreading around as if Koo can't kick short. Look, you can be subjective about a lot of these other takes and opinions, but that is like easily researchable. Like as soon as you said that, I immediately looked it up and was like, all right, well, is this true? Nope. So just keep in mind who you're talking about and keep in mind who you're talking to.
Man. But yeah, also that last couple of play calls, man, getting these late, gonna need those a tad bit faster this week. Can't do that one. Fast.
Yeah, what's so bad is that we weren't even away. I could understand if it was a situation where it's like late in the game and those antics got the fans going up against us and we're in a hostile environment. Like, if this is the problem here, you better believe it's going to be a problem tomorrow if this doesn't get fixed.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be
And
a
what
lot tomorrow.
What Arthur said, it's like, dude, I don't understand how this was ever a problem, let alone like you said 6 or 7 times in the same game when we've never seemed to
At home.
have that problem beforehand.
There wasn't even that many Washington fans at the game. If you actually looked at the stands, it was a lot more of us than it was them.
So, as an outsider, right? Because we're not in the huddle, we're not given the orders. If we were to try to figure out how to fix that, what's the first thing we're looking at? Right? Are we looking at communication lines between? Are we looking at like technology? Is it the play that's received that like Ritter's receiving late? Because I don't know if it's like Ritter like not being able to hear the play, because we've it's been brought up by Sean McVay a lot that when the play clock happens, 15 seconds before the play clock hits 0, that's when the communications between the coaches or like whoever's calling the plays and the quarterback stops. After that 15 seconds, the lines of communication are cut. So if we're trying to like get this play into Ritter's head before 15 or like after 15 seconds, then that's not good from the coach. However, if Ritter seems to be taking 10 seconds to communicate this play to all of his players and then they try to line up, that's also not good. Because why are we having this like complicated system for our plays when this should be a no huddle, like up tempo kind of offense in order to get us back in this game?
I didn't like that a lot of the play. And the sad thing is, it wasn't even Van Jefferson. It was like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan, where they were like, "Where am I supposed to be going to?" It was like kind of frustrating because you're like, "How is the guy that just got here 4 days ago know where he's supposed to go, but y'all don't?" So I kind of went into it too.
Yeah, and then we can talk about going for 2, but I don't know what kind of analytics he's been looking at here, because he pointed to like 3 different occasions in which he's done it before. Did he not remember that we lost all those games?
And in bad fashion.
And that was after we had several opportunities to get any other crumb of points. Right? Like we were down 6. Or no, we were down 12 in Green Bay. He didn't think about trying to go for 2 there, which would have made it a 4-point game. Did he do this because he didn't know how many other opportunities he would have left on offense? But then after that, we ended up with 3 more drives. So it's like, I didn't think we'd have to spend this much time talking about this game, especially after like a week has gone by. But these are just lingering questions that don't seem to have been like fully answered for us to digest as a fan base. Because now you have people saying that like, well, he's on the hot seat and yada yada. Like he's like he's going to be the first coach to go, and Desmond Ritter's clearly, quote unquote, clearly the worst starting quarterback ever seen, and all this kind of stuff. Because it's because of team stuff like this. Like we can't get ourselves to look good as a whole. So which is why the entire question of the stream is like, hey, which offense are we going to see going up against Tampa? BlackBerry's talking about clock management communication was only an issue last week, which fine, I'll give you that. But it wasn't a one-time scenario. I can forgive it if it was a one instance situation, but it kept happening at the worst possible time. Like we didn't have this problem quarters 1 through 3.
Really, quarters 1 through 2. It was like the end of the third, all fourth, where all these problems started. Mostly that
And
fourth
so
quarter. That fourth quarter is
when we're
what.
trying to finish the game, because like let's be real, we're going up against a divisional opponent at their place, and given like their defensive rankings, yeah, this is a tough game by many stretches of the imagination, especially when we get into the red zone, where Tampa Bay, although they've played 5 games, they rank first in red zone defense. If this wasn't a problem, like if this wasn't just a problem in Washington, this is going to happen again in situations where we need to punch in touchdowns. It hasn't happened a lot, but I mean, as we've seen against the Lions, you're going to have to score from farther away.
And you're gonna have to make more plays. Well, plays that shouldn't be made are gonna have to be made. Like that
Right.
Amon-Ra safe ground
I mean,
touchdown.
there's that, but then there's also that batted interception at the line that they got and then had the easy red zone trip, at least just to punch in another 3.
We're gonna have to hit our deep shots too, like badly. We're gonna have to.
And I don't even care if we like connect on those deep shots per se. We just have to show them that we want to.
Or we
Again, that
can.
was one of the yeah, not only that we can, but it's like, hey, we have the players now that can go down the field and that we want to throw the ball down deep down the field. Again, it's not a matter of like making sure that the play works. It's a statement to the defense saying, hey, put your guys further back there because we're going to keep doing this until you start recognizing it as a threat so we can balance out our offensive system. Like we're trying to get this defense to play honest to what we're giving them. That way, we're not trying to compete with their defense and see how we line up against them. We are trying to put our playmakers in a position where they have to line up against us. So if that's the route that we need to take, then yeah, go ahead and take it. Just take this pass, go for play action deep shot, and just chuck this ball as far as you can throw, Ritter. I need this so that it looks like an arm punt, but can't be caught by the defense. That way, those safeties are like, oh my goodness. Get those guys exhausted back there. That's like one of the that's one of the bang points, right? If you do that early and often, those deep safeties are going to be gassed. And I will take my chances in the fourth quarter against a gassed Antoine Winfield Jr. than a person that feels like he barely had to run.
Shoot, and the more gas safety is one that's not going to come up and run support. The more gas you want,
exactly,
the more they're not going to want to hit bigger guys. And the thing is, every player that basically starts with an Bijan that's a pass catcher or can catch the ball is at least 220 pounds and at least 6'3". So he's going to have his, you know. But the thing, also, do you have an update on Vita Vea? Because he was limited Wednesday and completely missed practice Thursday. I don't know if he practiced Friday.
The injury report says that he had a limited practice. He's questionable as a status. I'm going to assume that he will play.
Yeah, he'll be on the snap count probably.
Levante David and Mike Evans did not practice, but that's more of a rest related issue.
Yeah, we do with Janu and Calais.
And then what we have on our side is Bud Dupree, Caleb McGarry, Johnny Smith, both full practices last time. this got updated. And I'm going to update it again. All right. Because all it says was just updated October 13th on my screen. I don't have any report from yesterday, but. And so, yeah. As far as a matchup that we want for this game, was there anything else that you wanted to say before we move on?
Move on to matchups I like, or just the last thing we had.
Anything else about the Washington game?
Oh, turnovers for the defense though. Gonna need turnovers this game. Baker hasn't been clumsy like he usually has. He has been immune to throwing into. Well, actually, no, never mind. Let me take that back. Because every interception he had, other than the batted pass, was kind of dumb. Like he either stared down a wide receiver or waited too late and stared him down at the same time. So yeah, or it was a duck. So yeah, this is a prime game for Jesse Bates and AJ and Jeff.
Yeah, the secondary has to be at their game, which I mean we've already seen. I mean, did Terry McLaurin even do a whole lot against Jeff Okuda?
1 reception, 2 yards. Wait, no. He had 4 receptions for 46 yards. All of that came on AJ Terrell in like the first quarter. After that, he got completely shut down by both of them.
Well, all right then. It's that kind of performance that we're going to need again because, you know.
And to be honest, I'll take
Cartier is going to if Cartier is still here, then he's going to try to talk about how Mike Evans or what he calls Godzilla 13 is going to catch everything against us. I'm like, dude, we have a lot more than what you're ready for.
To be honest, I'll take Scary Terry over Chris and Mike Evans at this state right now.
Probably. I mean, he's got a lot more things going for him as far as like when the ball gets in the air.
And he's got more speed than either one of them two. The only thing he really doesn't have that maybe Mike Evans has is like the jump ball ability. But he can still go out there and make 50-50 grabs. It's just not Mike Evans-esque.
Yeah, like he doesn't really have to moss a player. But that's not to say that you can't just throw it out to him because he's open, because we've seen that time and time and again with even a guy like Heineke.
Yeah.
That just throws it.
Oh, speaking of Taylor Heineke, for the love of God, before we move on to matchups I like, for the love of God, all the people that said start Taylor Heineke, it's a reason that they had let him go to start Sam Howell. If Taylor Heineke was as good as you, I'm going to be nice here, was as good as you people said, he'd be a starting quarterback in the league right now. He'll probably be starting over Desmond. So, hey, let's stop making out like Tyler Heineke is some Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame QB. I love Taylor. Dude's had like a minimum of 5 actual good games in the last 3 years, and 2 of those came against us. So, well, no, one of them, because the game he had last year was pathetic. Other than that, like one drive, he was terrible. So, yeah.
And even then, like, he knows his role in the offense here as a backup quarterback. Like his opening press conference that caused that, the very first press conference he had as a Falcon was like, hey, I know what my role is. I'm going to be the backup. I'm going to be here for Desmond. This is why I pretty much took a pay cut. I'm not getting paid any more than what the backup quarterback deserves because that is what he wants to be. Because he wants to be an Atlanta Falcon, more importantly. Right? And if this is the role that he's going to, if this is the role he wants to give himself, then that's the role he wants. Then that's the role that we're going to give him. So, again, I think that he would only have to step up in situations in which Desmond was hurt, or we go later on in the season where we start getting more and more of like these confusing performances, I'll say, but we're still in a playoff hunt. But even then, that's the same exact situation that we were in last year with Mariota that caused us to start Desmond later on in the season, anyways.
I think Desmond's going to start this entire year because if you let's think about it, Arthur Blank's already called him the quarterback of the future if he ends up working out. Terry's kind of put a lot of resources into him to make sure he works out. Of course, Arthur has kind of coached him up to where he needs to be the quarterback of the future. So even if he did play, unless he just plays absolutely terrible, like 120, 30 yards, 3 interceptions, 1 touchdown, he's costing us like games like badly, and we can't get the ball moving, that's when Taylor's going to come in. But if he keeps playing, having 300-yard games, 2 touchdowns, lowers the interceptions a little bit, he's going to be starting the rest of the season, probably for a couple of years. Because let's think about it. But before, like, not to prolong on this, but a lot of quarterbacks end up being game managers until like that third or fourth, that really the second or third year starting, that's when they kind of like it clicks. And it's happened for a lot of like, and now I'm not saying he's these quarterbacks, but it happened for Jalen Hurts, happened for Josh Allen, happened for Dak Prescott, happened for Russell Wilson, happened for who else was I trying to remember? That really happened for Matt Ryan, even though Matt Ryan was good from the start. Of course, you started to see MVP level type Matt Ryan in like 2011, 2012. So,
Heck, 2010, because it's happened another
yeah,
13-3 season.
yeah. So 2010, 2011, that's where it like really started to click.
So I'm going to answer this question from Out of Your Falcon 9. How's it going, fellas? Is the run game struggling because of the passing game, or is the passing game struggling because of the running game? So, in order to figure out like this kind of chicken or the egg question, let's go back to what our identity was meant to be here, right? Our thumbnail is Desmond Ridder handing off the ball to Bijan Robinson, right? Trey's image is Desmond Ridder looking at Bijan Robinson. Like, we understand who this offense was meant for. And sometimes it seems as if it's more of a shift from what we were the year before. And that was kind of what helped us that year, right? Because again, I mentioned this before, but I'm gonna do it again because I don't know if you guys were here last time I talked about this, but 2021 we drafted Kyle Pitts. Then we ended up with receiver situations that caused us to use Kyle Pitts a lot more in the offense that season. Then, because of those wide receiver woes, we ended up having to take a wide receiver. So, might as well take the best one of the bunch that we thought high on the draft, 8th overall. Here comes Drake London. Then you eventually started to see the offense flow around Drake London in the passing attack, whereas Kyle Pitts kind of got left behind. It wasn't because Drake London complimented him. It was because they shifted to Drake London. And that was kind of a problem. Now it's happening a third time where we drafted another high-end talent at the running back position that could also play receiver in Bijan Robinson. Now the offense, instead of complementing the previous two picks, the offense has shifted towards being the guy for him. And of those three scenarios, only one of them resulted in a Pro Bowl visit from the three guys that we're talking about, which was Kyle Pitts in 2021 under Matt Ryan. So what this leads me to believe is that we've shifted our focus to now, hey, we're trying to get Kyle Pitts and Drake London the ball. We're trying to give them a bunch of stuff. It just so happens that a run game is like fantastic. So now we drafted a running back, doubled down on the strength. And now it's like, hey, now we're trying to make sure that this is a run first football team, run second football team, maybe occasionally play action pass third football team, right? This offense is not really predicated around the passing game anymore, like it was supposed to be 2 years ago. So it took a roster change, and not just those positions, in order to get to where we are. All the while we're having to clear up space in the cap room, and trying to make all these roster moves during the season. And sometimes it worked in our favor, other times it didn't. When it comes to our style of play offensively, again, sometimes we don't really know where to go because one stops working, which causes us to go to the other one. And then that one stops working. It causes us to go back to the only other option that we have on offense. So I think it's more that we're not really getting players that complement each other in an offense. It's more like we're having to justify drafting these players high by making them the focal point of the season, which is why we'll have a lot of targets to Bijan Robinson this year. And I think Arthur Smith wants to justify that position or justify him being here in the place of having a more balanced attack. Because again, like we have guys, we have depth. At the very least, we should have the depth there. But then who ends up making the plays when we have to go to those positions? The year before it was Cordell Patterson, and then it was Tyler Algier. We didn't expect that, really. And then the year before, it was Cordell Patterson again. But then it was like Russell Gage. So we're having to figure out our identity while still shifting around Bijan Robinson. So Desmond Ritter's in a situation where if he gives it too much to one player, then the other two are going to suffer. But if he gives it to the other two, then the guy in the background, or then the guy in the backfield will suffer. I think sometimes Arthur Smith might have put himself in a lose-lose situation, which is causing everyone to hate this offense. Because every single week we seem to always have a comment that's like, oh, well, Kyle Pitts didn't get the ball enough, or Drake London didn't get the ball enough in comparison to everyone else. And it's like, sure, there's reasons for that in the game script, but overall, it's like, it's kind of weird to look back on how these teams ended up getting these players and why they're in the positions that they're in. So I think overall, yeah, the run game is what's first. So when that doesn't work, we have to go to the passing game, which we stopped caring for, I guess, until now in the season where we're trying to get all these wide receivers to work for us. Now we're promoting certain players from the practice squad. Now we're trading for wide receivers. Now we're trying to do all this other stuff. We're probably going to draft a wide receiver fairly high in this upcoming draft because we have to balance. It's not as though we don't have players to balance. It's that we're not like we have tunnel vision when it comes to play calling. So, do you have anything to add to that, Trey?
I think the thing with us is, and we said this, I think the entire AFN family said this, it was going to be games to where somebody out of the last 3 picks we had like an underwhelming game. Every game is not going to be like I guess you could say, Packers game where Bijan had over 100 yards. Not Desmond. Drake London had over 80 yards, or I think it was like 75. Kyle Pitts was getting. It's like you're not going to have every week to where Kyle Pitts, Bijan, and Drake are all combining for 300 yards. Now, if and when that week happens, we're going to love it, and hopefully we win that week, because I would hate to waste that week when they just have a generational type performance. But we know what each one of these players can do. We've seen kind of the breakout Pitts game, kind of had that back-to-back weeks in the Texans and Commanders game. He just had as many yards as he did the Texans game. Drake London had his first 100-yard game of the season this year, was really being force-fed that entire game, especially that catch he had on that offsides penalty. That's the definition of head top. I don't know if you guys seen that, but he literally showed why he's regarded as a jump ball wide receiver. Um, Three, we know what Bijan can do. He's been doing it every week. If not showing glimpses of it, doing it every week, every game, nearly every play. So, like I said, you have so many weapons on this team that you can't. You have to keep it like how I'm not saying you have to be exactly like the 2016 us, but you want to have so many weapons that it's a good problem to where they don't know where the ball is going to go. And I think that's why they signed Amir Bird. Okay, if they know that you're going to try to go deep with Van Jefferson, okay, now you can go over the middle with Van Jefferson. Send Bird deep. Heck, send both deep. Send one on a crosser, send one on a fly. Take the safety help, and whoever's one on one, take it. That's what helps you keep defenses on balance when they know. Like you could tell on that fourth down before, like 3 or 4 plays before Ritter's second interception. The When we had Tyler Algier fullback, Bijan in the backfield, they knew what play was going to come. They knew what play was going to come. They just didn't know what side it was going to come on. He was either okay, you're either going to hand it to Bijan for this money, or you're going to flick it to Bijan. I mean, you're either going to hand it to Tyler for this money or flick it to Bijan. That's why they had two linebackers stay right there and fill that hole. And that's why they had three people head to the backfield, and that's why that play got completely blown up. So you have to keep these defenses off balance. It's something that, like I said, you have so many weapons, and you know what each one of your weapons can do that you have to give. You know, I'm not saying you have to give each one of them 7, 8 touches because it's kind of hard to do because you're really only running it 60 to no. Well, with us, yeah, you're pretty much running between 50 and 70 plays a game. So you're not going to have a chance to get each one of your playmakers 8, 7, 8, 9 touches a game. That's just not going to happen. But if you're spreading the ball out and each one of them is making a play, like the Texans game, Desmond Ridder passed over to 11 different guys, or the 11 different guys had the ball in their hands that game, or 9 different guys. I keep forgetting which one it was. But we were passing the ball around. They didn't know where the ball was going to go, who it was going to go to, and when it was going to go to that one person. So they can't key in on that one person. But yeah, it's kind of just how we're going to do this, and how we can, I guess, spread this defense out. Because like I said, we have too many weapons not to be scoring 16 points a game. Way too many weapons and way too many actual. I'm not talking about you have 7 guys like it's. I'm talking about actually proven guys or guys that have proven that they can do something with the ball. We need to be putting up more than 16 points a game. And the sad thing is, before I cut it off, the sad thing is we could have had 30 points this game or last game, really the last 2 games. What killed us? We drove all the way down the field and we stalled in the first half. Second half starts, we drive all the way down the field. Oh, there's a pick. Oh, there's a pick. Oh, there's a pick. That's 17 to 21 points off the board right there. That's three. Well,
At the very least,
at
9
the
that we lost
very,
by 8.
yeah, at the very least 9. You win the game 25 to 24 again. So that's points that you're wiping off the board. And the way we run the game, the way our offense works, we are not the team that's going to have a 2-minute drive. We're not the Chiefs. We're not the Dolphins. We're not the Bills. Those 3 teams can score a touchdown in 35 seconds, and I'm not joking because they've all done it before. These 1 play, 2 play, 3 play, 4 break drive, we're not that type of team. The drives that we score on are 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 plus play drives that are taking 4 to 5 to 6 minutes off the clock. We're not the type of team that can settle for to have 2 to 3 turnovers and then go try to win the game. That's not going to work every time. Now, thankfully, we have a top 5 defense that can go stop somebody quickly after a turnover like that, which they did on 2 of the 3 turnovers. So I'm proud of those guys for that. But you can't keep doing that to them. If they're going to be out, if they're going to have these quick 3 and outs to get you back on the field, you need to go out there, have a sustained drive, and at least get 3 points on the board. Because like you just said, even if we don't put up 2 or 3 touchdowns on those 3 turnovers, that's 9 points. You lost the game by a 1 possession game. That's 9 points that you missed out on. Really, I'm going to say 10 because you had the 2-point conversion that you blundered on. So 10, 11 points that was right there that you just missed out on, one because of either turnovers or missed opportunities. That cannot happen. You go against a team, and I'm still expecting to make the playoffs this year. I knew we were going to lose games. I knew we were probably going to be at 500 somewhere between week 6 and 8, but I'm still expecting to make the playoffs with this team, and I know a lot of people still are. But if you're expecting to play a team like Philly, if you're expecting to play a team like San Fran, if you're expecting to play, I was about to say Dallas. If you're expecting to play a team like Detroit, having 3 turnovers in a game is going to get you spanked by 20. And I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Even then, like, right, if we were to go, we would most likely be division winners, right? So we'd be the 4th seed. So we'd have to look at the highest wild card seed.
Which would
So
be
it probably wouldn't be
the
Philly
Cowboys.
right away. It probably wouldn't be San Francisco right away.
Maybe the
You might be
Cowboys
looking at the Cowboys, and then from
or
there,
the
we'd have
Seahawks.
home field advantage. We'd probably go automatically over there. Seahawks are kind of in that weird territory ish.
I
Same
don't know
thing
what
with
the Seahawks are.
same
I
thing with the
really.
Rams. Um,
Oh yeah, the Rams are the 7th seed right now. Yeah, I really don't know what the Seahawks are right now because I didn't even know they were 3-2. Like I swear to God, I didn't know they were 3-2. I thought they were like 2-3, 3-3 or something like that. Like they're 3-2, and they played the Bengals pretty well. But the Bengals, if you've noticed, since they went to the Super Bowl that year, has started slow every year. And it's always whoever catches them between week 4 and 12, you're gonna get beat. It happens. I'm expecting them to go into the second half of the season with like a 6-4, 7-3 type of record. And the crazy thing is, the next 3 games we can do that because we play. Not to say this is an easy game tomorrow. We play the Bucks. We play the Tennessee Titans next week. Most likely Malik Willis or Will Levis starting the game because Ryan Tannehill is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks.
yeah.
And then you play the Vikings week 8. Three
Like
teams,
Arizona.
and then Arizona week 9. So you could potentially go 4-0, be sitting at 7-3 going into your bye week. Is that realistic? Very much. It's very realistic. It just depends on the Falcons you catch. If you catch the week 2, the week 1, or the week 5, no, my fault. Week 6, wait, no, yeah, I was right. Week 5 Falcons, you go 4-0. You catch last week Falcons, you catch week 4 and week 3 Falcons. We're talking about a whole different thing going into the bye week 10, and whether we're making the playoffs or not, or we're winning the division or not. So it just depends on who they want to be these next couple of weeks and who they're going to play like these next couple of weeks. Because right now, playing like last week is going to have you looking at 3-7 and looking to rebuild. You play like you did the week before last week is going to have you looking pretty stacked, and you're going to be looking pretty fierce in the NFC. Because to be honest, the NFC is looking better than I expected. Way better than the AFC. I'll give the National Football Conference that they're playing a little bit better than the AFC right now.
Mm. It seems as though we're like really top heavy in the NFC though.
Because you got the 49ers, you got the Cowboys, you got the Eagles, you have the Rams, you have us, you have the Bucks, you have the Commanders, you have
Lions.
Lions pop. Well, I don't want to say they popped out of nowhere, but I wasn't expecting them to go 5-1 off rip. Um,
Their only loss was in overtime too, so it's like
they could be 6-0 if it wasn't for that one.
for a coin flip, really.
Yeah, yeah, because that offense was pretty. It was going in the fourth quarter like they could not be stopped in the fourth quarter.
Whereas like what we're seeing, like AFC, obviously you have Miami. You're gonna have Jacksonville that just won. Thank you very much. Kansas City 5-1. But
Buffalo,
then like you take a look at the middle of their thing, so it's like you have Buffalo at 4-2, second place in their division. You have the Jets at a 3-3. I don't know.
the
Pittsburgh
Patriots.
at 3-2. It's more of like a division thing than it is like them playing outside of opponents. And even then, their other win was against the Raiders and Indianapolis without Anthony Richardson for the rest of the year. just going off of Gardner Minshew and vibes. Got Houston. CJ Stroud looks good, but sometimes you'll notice that they just don't have the roster yet to keep up with some of these other teams at the top. Other now and then, like, yeah, they'll have a divisional game, but other, you know how divisional games are. It's like you just throw the record out the way. And then you'll have everyone else. It's like, yeah, Chargers, they can't close out games, and that's from a Falcons fan, so that's bad. You have Cincinnati sitting dead last in their division. Yeah, 3-3.
Not expected.
Exactly. And then of course you have just the bottom feeders of the league with New England. You can go ahead and say New Orleans, Denver. I don't know, man. We have our bottom feeders are bad too in the NFC. Like we have the Giants, Chicago, Carolina hasn't even won a game, Arizona. Although they gave it their best, but it's like you can tell they're just outmatched, and I don't even know if Kyler's going to help them look any better, especially now that they're trying to shop Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I forgot the Cardinals have been playing hard. They don't have the talent to like finish.
They can't keep up. Like they'll look good starting off the first half, and then you can just tell like as the game progresses, they just can't get it done. And that's I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I got this question from my Falcon Mind. If you guys are still here, sorry about taking so long to answer this question. Trey, do you want to think of an offensive player, and I'll go defensive player for this question? If you can bring back one former Atlanta Falcon at the peak of his abilities with no regards to money for 1 year to help this specific team this year, who are you bringing back and why? Your offensive answer is...
I love you, Desmond, but I'm bringing back Matt Ryan. I'm sorry.
My defensive answer... Jesse Tuggle.
I knew you were gonna. It was either that or John Abraham. I knew you were gonna say one of those two.
Within at linebacker a little bit, just in terms of like the numbers and just bringing the hammer. Like he would just solve a lot of problems if we're trying to like stop things in the middle of the field, as well as just like sniff out run plays. Again, we're already really good at that, but like him in the middle, in comparison to, Nate Landman. Again, Nate Landman, love you, appreciate you, like for stepping up to play for us. But, was that supposed to be Claude, or is that just you saying someone else? Claude Humphrey would also work too.
If it was me, I'd probably
Keith Brooking, another answer that he was also a part of that 98 squad. Great linebacker. I just don't have the same kind of speed with him as I would with the Jesse Tuggle. And then plus the storyline of him on the same team as his son. You're getting close there, Steven. Just that with the knee at the end. Or Chuck Smith, yeah. Dr. Pass Rush himself.
Chuck Smith, Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, and
Sante Samuel, maybe, but like our secondary is already really good. And even if we want to go there, like why would you take Sante Samuel when we have Dion?
Oh shoot!
So
now that I think about it, Dion, AJ Terrell, Jeff Okudah, D. Alford. Who's burning that secondary?
You'd have to go underneath every single play. Like, all right. Well, appreciate you guys. I got to catch your guys' shows more often too. I try not to like watch everybody just on the sole purpose that I don't want to like copy everyone's opinions and stuff. It's really tough to do. Like I'll have to do my own research and stuff outside of things. I don't even really watch like everyone else's shows all that much, unfortunately. I just don't have the time. So, but yeah, you guys are definitely going to be on my radar. But Yeah, well, he's back. I knew you would say that. We've already talked about that. Um, all right. So now that he's here, let's go to the other team that lost to Detroit 20-6.
I just forgot we had the same loss score as they did when we played the Lions. Huh.
They had them at home too. Like, come on, man.
And the crazy thing is, we went on to lose the next week. So hopefully they have the same pattern, you know. Just saying. Just saying.
All right. So I want to bring this up again because here's something interesting. Do you know that despite everything that we talked about on offense, we are 20th in terms of third down conversions. We have had 30, and we've had 80 third down attempts, 30 third down conversions. It's really low in comparison. But what is also really low is the conversions for against Tampa. They have had 73 defensive third down attempts. They've only allowed 36 to go through, which is 31st ranked in the NFL. Again, 5 games, so not the same kind of sample size as what we have with their 6 games. But that's something to keep in mind. Like, they don't really stop their opponents all that well on third down. Now, you could take a look at their schedule and be like, all right, well, they faced Minnesota that likes to pass the ball a lot. They faced Chicago that made it a close game up until that pick 6 at the very end. They played a Philly team on Monday night, which just kind of blew them out of the water. But then they blew out the Aints out of the water again. Thank you very much. But that's the only time I'm going to say thank you to you. And then we saw what happened 6 days ago. So that being said, they have had those 5 games. They have only allowed more than 20 points once, and that was that Monday Night Philly game. Other than that, they have allowed 88 points against their defense, which is 7th most in the league. That's how they try to get in their games and scrounge up wins. We're not too far behind them, though. In their 5 games played, they have scored 90 points. We have had another game against them. We've had one more game than they have, and we have scored 99. So, first team to 100 wins.
Yeah, basically. I didn't know the rankings were that close. Now, their defense was something I thought was gonna fall off because I was like a bunch of older guys, not that much youth, especially in the secondary. I was like, you know what? Yeah, this team might fall off, but they've actually been way better than I expected. Of course, they're sitting in first place right now, not for long. By the time tomorrow, when 9:30 by tomorrow, they will be sitting in second place. You can put my money on that one. The offense has been very inconsistent. Yes, they've put up 90 points. It's just the amount of boneheaded plays that they've had really since week 2, if I'm correct. Yeah, by week 2, it's been kind of sad. It's kind of why, like, if and I hate Tom Brady. I hope you guys know that. I'll just be honest. Tom Brady was on this team. This team is probably like 4-1 right now. If not like 5-0, maybe. I don't know. It's just that their defense is back to what it was supposed to be. Like what we all thought it was going to be last year, but it was a lot worse. More because of injuries to it too. But the only really catastrophic injury they had was Shaq Barrett. Other than that, they were basically completely healthy. Their offensive line is struggling, to say not struggling, but in the run,
They're missing Ryan Jensen a lot.
Yeah, the run game is struggling. They haven't had a rushing touchdown all year by a running back, and they're like nearly either dead last or like a couple spots from dead last in the running game this year. Kind of like
Let's
the
take a
last.
look. In terms of rushing yards, 29th.
Yeah.
In terms of yards per attempt, dead last.
Yep. Yeah. So going against a team that's top 15, top 12 in rushing defense really isn't the
And
greatest.
we haven't had a rushing touchdown against a running back so far this season.
And we only had one rushing touchdown. That was that Jared Goff uh, read option. And also, we haven't allowed over rushing 100 rushing yards since the Carolina game. So literally the first game these guys ever played together. Um, yeah, so not expecting them to have over 60 rushing yards this game. The passing offense, um, they kind of got a lot more opportunities. I think that they won't be able to get against us. One, because the Lions don't have the strongest corners. So they tend to play a lot more press zone. So they'll kind of be up press or be like 2 or 3 yards off. But they'll bounce us like a quarter cover zone, cover two kind of, or just kind of like bail coverage. We don't do that. Of course, we're like top five, top three in man coverage percentage. We run a lot of man coverage and it works out in our favor 95% of the time. Um, so and the thing is, you like in the past you always say, okay, if AJ Terrell shuts down Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, who's gonna shut down the other one? Well, now we have the other corner to shut down the other one. So it's like, well, unless somebody like Trey Palmer or whoever their fourth wide receiver is makes a play, it's really going to kind of be hard to pass on the team because one, we haven't given up many big players. I think we've only given up two plays longer than, and I mean catches because I know there's been a couple of pass interferences that equal in like 30, 40 yards. I mean, like catches. I think it
Yeah.
was Sam Laporta and the Calvin Ridley touchdown. Those were the only two big plays that were more than 25 yards that we've allowed. And both of those players were one was miscommunication, the other one Richie Grant just kind of panicked mid route. So I'm not expecting them to get a lot of deep stuff on us. What other matchups do I like? I was about to say Kyle Pitts on their linebackers, but their linebackers are literally meant to do anything.
Yeah.
Guard, ends, guard, running
Levante
back.
David is still like I don't know how this dude does it.
31 years old, still playing like a top five.
33.
33, yeah. And the crazy thing is, almost went to the Raiders. Almost went to the
Shaq
Raiders.
Barrett's 31.
But yeah, Devin. Well, what has Devin White done this year? Because most I've only really seen Levante David doing a lot. I haven't really heard Devin White's name a lot. They said
Well,
he's been good,
he's
but I haven't really heard his name like a ton as I've heard Levante David.
he's tied for third on the team in total in terms of combined tackles. He's got an interception, 2 passes deflected, 1 tackle for loss, and then 1 quarterback hit. Um, he's still one of the more like productive players in terms of the stat sheet that you can consider on defense, but
Yeah.
it is kind of weird how um, you haven't heard as much from him as in previous years.
Yeah, especially in those first 2 years, you thought he was like, okay, this like it was worth that fifth round selection. And then the last 2 years, you're like, what is he honestly doing out there? Especially last year, he was terrible last year. I mean, he almost got benched last year, if I remember right. Um, any more matchups that I like? hmm. Oh yeah, Jesse Bates versus Baker Mayfield. Jesse Bates is getting enough to pick this game. You can put my money on that too. In the last 5 games they played, how many interceptions is Baker Mayfield? I think it's 4, 5. I think
3.
yeah, 3. 2 of those interceptions came from safeties. Well, no, one came from him literally watching a corner. I mean, watching his slot wide receiver just sit in the middle of the field and no. Why do I keep forgetting that dude name from the Eagles? Whoever was the Eagles safety literally just jumped. It was probably the easiest pick of get of his life. The other one, he threw a duck to to who was that Steelers corner? It wasn't Joey Porter because he just got his first career interception against the Ravens 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I keep forgetting his
you,
name. It wasn't Patrick. Was it Patrick Peterson?
you sure it was against the Steelers? They haven't played the Steelers this year.
It was somebody that they played this year that he just threw an absolute duck to, trying to hit Chris Godwin and he got picked off.
Was it New Orleans?
Yeah, that's what it was. Alante 27.
Oh, Alontae Taylor.
Yeah, Alante Taylor picked off his pass trying to hit Chris Godwin. I didn't want to remember the Aints. I haven't. The only thing I remember about them is the I can't laugh too hard because this is like a dark joke, but like a funny thing. But the crucial catch joke caught me so off guard Friday morning. I was not expecting that. That killed.
I thought you were going to talk about them being $87 million over the cap space, but
Oh, that too. That's well, they've had that
um,
or nearly as much as that the last 3 years, so I'm not really worried. But hey, keep destroying yourselves from the inside out. I can really not care at all. Do you? Do you? But yeah, the crucial catch thing was like a good and a bad joke at the same time. That was like funny, but not funny.
let me clear this up because it's bad that it happened to the player that was Foster Moreau.
Yeah.
But from our side, it's a bit of Schadenfreude to see the Aints do that to their own players.
Yeah.
And then have that be. Oh, I also saw the because this was on Amazon Prime, right? There was an Aints fan in the crowd that had the Amazon search bar, and it said in the search bar offense. Like, is there a search result found for an offense? I'm asking Amazon, please.
I love seeing the Aints struggle. Such a great pain. I really just love seeing anybody struggling out of it, especially the Panthers fans. We'll talk about those guys later, but Panthers fans, man, y'all were like riding the high horse after y'all picked my boy Bryce, and all of a sudden y'all are tanking for Caleb. It's pretty funny.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Yeah. Man. I love him because he's from Alabama, but man, they are not helping that man at all. Especially with the play calling and the O-line and the wide receiver. That entire team is just a choke job. They whoever is on the Panthers, I feel really, really bad for you because y'all are not winning anything anytime soon. Any other matchups?
Well, I don't feel too bad about the people that like paid to be there, like Adam Thielen and Miles Sanders, but maybe like an Iki Okonwu.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard.
Someone that I like. Okay, so let's go back to anything that we don't like about this game. We could make this a long list, but I don't want to do that just for time constraints, first of all, and then again, I want to have this an upbeat conversation, but we do have to talk about some things that we see, and even then, it's like more of what we do to ourselves rather than what our opponent does to us. That's kind of what I see this as.
The only thing I really can say that we might beat ourselves in is the trenches. We always seem to not be able to block Vita Vea. I don't know why, because we can double.
I have like 360 reasons why,
yeah.
or whatever his weight is.
I don't know. That man just moves too quick to be 340 pounds. I'm sorry. Like a dude that's 6'4", 320, 340, 350 and moving that quick, that's kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like if I wouldn't want to.
He's Samoan, right? Is that?
Yeah, he's Samoan. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that checks out then for them.
Man, I just, man, I would not want to be head to head with that man on a 3rd and 7, knowing he can just bull rush you, swim move you, bull rush, then swim move, then bull. He's like, I don't like the Buccaneers, but I give my respect to the players that deserve it. Vita Vea is very underrated. I'm surprised many people don't have him as in their top 10 tackles. He's paid like one, but if ever me, I probably have him in like the top 8 because he's always forcing some type of havoc in the backfield, whether it's on running plays, passing plays, or flea flick, whatever it is. He's making his status known, and I'll respect him for that one. I wanted him in the draft, but of
It
course,
was right. It was like back when we had Dontari Poe on our defensive line.
yeah,
And when there was a game in which he was not playing for us, you could just tell that like we were missing a guy like him. The same thing happens for Vita Vea. If he's not in the game, then it's a completely different defense.
it's a completely different run defense. Mainly, he is the reason that run
Yeah.
defense has been top 10 since he got there. You can tell anytime he misses a game or he's not 100%, that run defense is yeah, it's a little iffy.
So
Yeah,
if you're going up against this one right now with the squad that we have, um, I obviously don't want to go with a bunch of inside zones and dives and trap plays and stuff
no,
because yeah, he's going to eat them all up. Right. In a similar way, I don't want a bunch of zone reads at the shotgun because again, like you're just giving him too much time to make a play. Um, so what I always like when dealing with the defensive line that's that disruptive is that either when this kind of goes for a blitz concept in general too. It's that hey, if you see that a blitz is happening towards a certain side of the field, your best options are either run away from it or throw towards it. Because oftentimes, especially in like a cover zero situation where it's just straight up man, everyone else is blitzing, they often leave behind someone else that's like right behind them. So again, those are good opportunities. So when it comes to Vita Vea, who's normally lined up in the middle, it's something where it's like, hey, let's go outside, and that's what I saw a lot of the Lions plays doing. It's like they were setting up a lot of screens and stuff to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They were doing a lot of quick stuff to Sam Laporta. They were doing stuff that negated the middle of the field for them, and so that again, like Vita Vea couldn't become that much of a factor in the game. Now, yeah, it was still a low scoring game, and that's kind of what I expect this game to be too, which is all the more reason as to why a situation like gaining points when you need to, gaining points when the opportunity arises, this is where it could rear its ugly head again. Because if you're not playing in a shootout, like you have to make every possession count. So what do you do? Well, you either try to play for field position because let's be honest, like none of these teams are going to be going down the field against each other's defense all that often. So we have to play for field position, right? In that situation, we have to take our opportunities on the outside and in the perimeter and whatnot. So what that could look like is a couple extra screens and deep passes down the sideline, which is a good thing for us on typically, right? Like we could just throw a jump ball to uh, Drake London, and he seems like he pretty much comes down with that all the time. We can throw a quick screen to a Van Jefferson type or a Scotty Miller type,
even the
and
mirror
I can
bird.
see that.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I can see that happening as well. Or a Bijan, I can see that as well. Him breaking a couple extra tackles. I can see situations where we do some extra quick outs, and then try to threaten them from there. Like trying, because I also see what they want to do is they don't want us to have the outside, right? Because they know that that's kind of what their weakness is. Every now and then, right? Like sometimes certain plays have to be presented to a defense just to get them off course, right? This is why I'm kind of like emphasizing the idea of just throwing deep passes every now and then. Sure, it might get your receiver gassed, but we always have another one. They don't always have the other safety because they're always on the field, right? So, in those situations where you're constantly making this team move around, and then when they start like, all right, let's do this because they're going to be annoying about it, then you threaten them back inside and be like, hey, don't do that either. Like you don't want to cheat too much to either side to lose leverage, right? And this is some things that we were able to do against our opponents, and this is just something like the Bijan Robinson play, the interception to him. Like, dude, I don't know how we lose this. So, yeah, I see a lot of opportunities in which we can gain field position and just go little by little. All right, this is a field position, low scoring kind of game that we're prepared for. This should be a game in which actually goes in our favor because having limited possessions, but having the ability to run the ball in different ways that we do gives us more chances. And when you go against a defense that is ranked 31st when it comes to third down conversions, you can give yourself a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to what you play call on first and second down. So don't be too tunnel vision when it comes to the players that you want to get the ball to. Now, that being said, the same thing can happen to us, right? So they're going to try to limit our possessions on the field. They're going to try to make it so that our defense has to win this game for us straight up, whereas instead, we're trying to do is complement each other's style of play. In some situations, it's worked, like in Houston. Other times, it didn't. And so we need that situation to arise where we're constantly giving ourselves good field position to work with on offense. You still there? I think you might have left.
Oh, no, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. Anything else you wanted to add before we move on to our Immaculate Grid?
To be honest, they
I think you got caught up there. All right. As we wait for him to come back, I will just put this on the screen. Now, for those of us that was here with us last week, or with me last week, we're doing this. So, if you weren't with us before, the way that this works is we have 9 squares, but we have 9 guesses. What these squares represent are players that fit both categories that you see lining perpendicular to each other. So, all we have to do is come up with the player that played for the Broncos, but then also played for the Steelers. If we think of a name, we'll type that player in, and that square will be filled out if it's correct. If it's not correct, then we lose a guess, and that means that we can't complete this square, which is why it's called the Immaculate Grid. Now, this goes with different categories. Now we have a square, or with a line that says 10,000 passing yards in their career. If we get the information here, player must have 10,000 passing yards in their career when paired with a team, must have played at least one game with that team in their career. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about quarterbacks that have played for the Broncos, Browns, and the Lions in their career. And it doesn't always have to be with that same team. So we might be able to think about, all right, didn't know that he was completely gone because I wasn't sharing my screen. I think he'll be back though. So what me and Trey are going to do when he comes back is we're going to fill this board out. And the name of this game is Obscurity. So I can think of a player that played for the Broncos, but then also played for the Steelers. And be like, all right, that's easy for me. But if it's easy, then it's probably a high percentage guess. When we guess a player, at the top right, we're going to end up with a percentage. That tells us how commonly that player was guessed for that category. Now, sometimes we're going to end up in some weird situations where, you know, they have to go by certain stats and whatnot. Because I ended up with a problem last week where technically a transaction happened with a player that was regarding both teams, but then he was on IR for another team, and so he didn't count as a guess, even though the guess was technically correct. So I don't think we're going to run into that situation that often, but just keep that in mind if you end up with a player that technically played or that technically signed with a team but didn't actually play for them. I don't think he's going to work. So when we get him back, we will start this. I wasn't expecting this problem to happen the second that I put this up on the screen because it was not a problem before. Since this is new to Trey as well, I'm going to give him the first kind of go at this, and now I'm going to fill out the board on behalf of him. And then if we have the time, if we have all of our issues fixed, then we will play another game. We'll use another grid than which neither of us have seen, and we will play a game of tic-tac-toe with each other. But to do that, we need him back in the fold with us. So as we wait for that, how's everybody else's night been? And does this make sense for you if I still need to explain? Because I had a few trouble with the last go around. So I'm just going to stay on the screen until he comes back because can't really progress this game without him. All right. He might be contacting me with who on other means. Oh, here we go.
That
all right, back.
The most insane thing to ever happen to me. I'm over here getting ready to say my final speech, and the computer dies. Didn't even realize it was 7%. Didn't even realize. But you're back.
Okay, then. All right. So Trey knows what's going on. I'm going to give him the first category of guessing. We're going to start the Immaculate Grid right now. If you guys aren't familiar with the rules again, you can just let us play it and let that be your example of how this works. So, Trey, what square do you want to fill in and with what player?
I'm going to go middle square with the Houston Texans Browns player. I'm going to say Jadeveon Clowney.
All right, so 23%.
Okay.
We don't know if there was an answer that would have been lower than that. That's kind of the thing with this game. Is that we won't get another opportunity to make that guess until, they come up with another grid that has these two categories together. So, my next guess. I'm going to go with the Lions. And I'm going to go and see if Dante Culpepper works. He does, 2%.
Okay. All right, what's going on the Lions?
So Trey, you have the next.
You
have the next guess.
Okay. Let's go.
We don't have to go in a row. We're just trying to fill out the board.
Let's go for. Yeah. Okay, let's go for Steelers, Lions. Let's go Cam Sutton.
Damn. 13%. All right. My turn next. Eesh. I'm going to go with. I think I used this name last time, but I figured. I'm going to go with a different name. I'm going to go Kyle Orton. 3%.
Okay. All right, let's go for the Browns 10K passing yards. I'm going to say, let's say Johnny Manziel.
He has not had 10,000 passing yards in his career. So that gets rid of the guess. We cannot fill the board. We have 5 squares remaining, 4 guesses left.
Okay.
So that takes your turn. It now goes back to me. Man, I can think of players, but I don't know how rare it is as a guess. So I'm going to go Browns, Steelers. Do I play it safe and just kind of go with an answer here? Or do I shoot for obscurity?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know anyone that's done that or like been there.
All right, I'm gonna use Joe Hayden.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of before the live started.
You see how that answer was like 73% common?
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the. Actually, no. We're gonna do Texans Broncos player.
All right.
We're gonna do. I just had his name. Quarterback. Was it
Brock?
Yeah, Brock Osweiler.
All right. Osweiler. 60%. All right. So now we're getting too common. And I just saw someone in the chat go for Emmanuel Sanders here. He was another person I was thinking of immediately. There's a pass rusher that I'm thinking. He definitely played for the Texans, but did he play for the Lions? We can't fill out the board anyways, so I'm going to make this guess. And I'm going to say Jason Babin? He did not play for the Lions. Okay. He had a lot of teams that he was a part of, but Lions were not one of them.
Okay, let's go.
All right, one last guess. Who do you want to fill out?
We're going to try the just going to say Baker Mayfield for 10K passing yards. Good old Baker.
All right, so we have a rarity score of 396. Just to go back, Baker was a 20%. Wow, that was a lot lower than I was expecting to. More people guessed Jadeveon Clowney than they guessed Baker Mayfield. Huh.
Maybe because how much he struggled lately. I don't know. Because he was a backup quarterback for most of last year. And then, of course, this year he's been starting. Yeah. I don't know. Because another Browns player that used to play for the Texans was why did I just forget? Deshaun Watson. I thought Deshaun Watson would have been more.
Yeah.
I wonder how much they guessed on him though. Because that was like a very recent one.
Yeah, Joe Hayden was a very recent one for the Saints, or not Saints, but Steelers Browns too. So, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing, go to a different screen here because This should be obscure to everyone here. Do you want to try to go for one that has the Falcons category on it?
Let's do it. I feel like I can guess that one pretty good.
All right. Let's find one. Oh, found one pretty quickly. Yeah. All right. So do you want to do a tic-tac-toe version then?
Let's do it.
Or we got to go 3 in a row?
Yeah, let's do it.
Who goes first then? I
Um,
think you're still new to the game, so I'm going to let you go first.
okay. Ooh. Oh, Jets, Falcons players. Okay, I'm not gonna remember that one. Jets, Ravens. Okay, I feel like I can remember that one. Huh. Da, 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 da. Huh. Or do I go Jaguars, Texans? No, Latavius Murray was never on the Jaguars. And the Kingdom wasn't on the Jaguars. Whew. Wait, I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot tougher than the last one. I like it. I like it. A
Yeah.
lot tougher than the last one. Okay. Jets player that we signed. Who was the old lineman that played for us back in 2018 that the Metro gave a terrible contract to? I don't know why I can't remember his name because I'm always dogging on him every chance I get. Oh,
I know the player, but since we're going against each other, I'm not going to say.
oh man, I swear I was always dogging on this man because he was god awful. Got a Matt Ryan killed.
You were absolutely correct.
Ah, why can I not remember this man's name? Signed him to a.
And because your thought process is out loud, which I mean, it helps for streaming purposes, but it doesn't help as a game when I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Ah. Okay. Okay. We're gonna skip
Unless
that one.
I be a sportsman, but then I wouldn't be able to know if you were ready. I got to be able to hear your guess, so I can't take off my headphones.
True.
So
Um, Ravens that turned into a Texan. Who would that be?
again, I got an answer for that, but
Was
I want to give
Latavius
it to you.
was Latavius Murray on the Ravens?
I'm not telling.
I'm gonna because I know he was on the. Let's no he was on the Saints. Jesus Christ, this is hard. My God. Huh. Raven that turned into a Texan. Or a Texan that turned into a Raven.
I guess
Uh,
now's as good of a time as any for the chat to be dead because I
yeah,
don't want them to
very,
give you any favors.
very
And
much.
myself as well. I want everyone else that's watching in like thinking about it as well. Keep it to yourselves, people. Keep it to yourselves.
Oh, I got one for the Falcons, Dolphins, Duke Riley. Whew, boy, that took me way too long. Oh my God.
Duke Riley, 2%. All right.
Oh my.
It really helps in your favor because you went center middle. So I don't know where to block you.
Man, that
So
plays,
it was a
man.
good it was a good play to play right there. I'm gonna take out your Falcons options, however, and I could be the guy to go for the name of the player that you weren't saying.
I want to remember him, so I kind of want you to say because I want to
Um,
name was.
but I also want to go a little bit more obscure than that. I don't know if I can though. I guess I can. So, uh, Man, because I wasn't even thinking about him until you mentioned it. But I gotta go somewhere else. There's positions that are very obvious to me, but I just don't know which one I'll say. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a different guess. I'm gonna go Eric Coleman.
Hmm.
0.2%.
Jesus.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. So the name of the player
Okay.
you're thinking of is James Carpenter.
Yes. Jesus. I don't know how I can remember that.
Wow. I can't believe Eric Coleman was that low for us. All right. Your move.
Okay. Let's see. Go up and down. Go vertical. Go horizontal. Still, I still can't do that one.
Well, you wouldn't win because I took up this square.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So everything is vertical. Never mind. Well, unless I want started a whole new
You can
box, but
diagonal as
that would
well.
be yeah. Jaguar that turned into a Texan, or Texan that turned into a Jaguar. Um, hmm.
Again, be careful about where you're going because I'm going up against you. You wouldn't be talking about your squares in tic tac toe.
Very much. Yeah. Okay. Let's think about this one for a second. Let's think about this one for a second.
Because if you give me too much time to think about the opposite layer, then I'm going to come up with something.
Hmm.
But if you rush this answer against me, then I don't want the stream to go forever because I got somewhere to be. But and I imagine everyone else that's watching too. So I don't want to
Hmm.
make this too long. This will be our last one, at least for this week, and then we'll try to get again next week when there's new
Okay.
things.
Um. Let's
So
go. Hmm. Let's go Derek Mason for the Ravens Jets. I'm not gonna lie.
point 0.5.
The only reason I remember this man's name is I heard my dad talking about him. Um, a couple. I think that was a couple weeks ago. Wow, I completely forgot about him. Okay, okay, I like it. I like it. Also, you are on mute if you did not know.
Perfect then. I wanted to take my jacket off, but I didn't want you guys to hear all the buttons and stuff. But
Uh,
that being said, I didn't turn it back on, so I just relayed my entire strategy. And now that you didn't hear it, all right, You're
All right, let's see. So you took that one away. There's still. Hmm.
and I guess it goes without saying, if you guess wrong, then I have the extra turn.
True.
Because that's
Very.
where that other thing will go for. We pretty much are guaranteeing ourselves 4 opportunities, but if you miss, then that's your opportunity. You're not guaranteed the 5th one.
Okay.
Same goes for
Okay.
me.
Hmm. Let's see. Okay, so there's still ways I can win this game. So that's the good thing. That's the great thing. Um, who? I have a player, but I don't know if he played for the Ravens or if he played for any of these teams. Actually, let me think very hard where where he came from. Let me think very
Don't want to give
very.
you too much time, though.
Yeah. Uh.
Because we're really not going for obscurity yet. We're just going to complete the board.
Okay. Let's
That'll be the
go
next step up.
Matt. Okay, let's go Matt Schaub,
Up
Ravens Texans.
right here.
No, Ravens Texans. Well, actually, yeah, Ravens Texans. Because I forgot he played for the Falcons Texans too. So hey, that takes away a player you could have had. So great. I'm surprised I didn't remember that. I love Matt Schaub.
4%.
Oh,
All right. So now I got to think of a Jag and Jet in order to stop you from going this way now.
yeah.
Uh, okay, let's say that I do. Could either of us still win?
I could one spot because I have what one.
Oh, you have this.
Yeah,
Oh, crap.
a win-win forever, I guess. So that's why
Oh
you
my
take the
goodness.
middle
What's the
first.
hard what's the harder one though?
Yeah.
What's the more difficult one for you? At that you're not going to tell me.
Shoot.
Oh, can I
It
think
was
of a
earlier.
Raven and Dolphin that you can't think of? Or is there just the obvious answer too obvious?
Hmm.
And then can I think of a Jag and a Jet? The most important part is that I get a player right in
So that you
general.
can still get the, even if you did
So
go
that
right.
at least I get the square.
Yeah. That way you can have either the Dolphin
Um
Jaguar or the Jets Jaguar.
dang it. Okay, because of my strategy, I have to think of every possible player for one of these scenarios. And
And
if I'm
also,
not coming up with a player, then I don't know if you can. But if I come up with a player or like multiple players too easily for a certain category here, then it's a done deal. Um, so I'm going to give myself a chance here. And I am going to go with. Oh, I think this works. Chris Ivory, 12%. Okay.
Chris, who is that?
So if the running back,
Chris Ivory. I may have heard of him before. I
he
should have.
he was on he was an 8 as well.
Huh.
He was clearly a Bill.
Oh, uh,
All right. So
yeah.
if you can't think of one right here, then I can win by going with someone for this square.
It's either I block you and try to take the
But then I
tie.
would block you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just take the tie,
So you'd
or
have to go for the win right now,
yeah.
which I couldn't stop because of the directions that you went.
Okay, so let's see. So you already know I'm going to go for the Raven Dolphin one. Now I
Yeah.
just have to remember who
Who?
in Jesus' name went from the Ravens to the Dolphins or the Dolphins to the Ravens. All right, so let me think. Let me think. Nope, play for the 49ers. Can't do that one.
Again, so glad the chat is empty.
Very much.
There's the
Um,
one few. There's the a very rare opportunity where I can say it's like, hey, thank you for not saying anything.
uh,
But then
uh,
watch, and then all of a sudden they're gonna over comment.
nope, did not. He played in Florida, just not with the Dolphins. Huh. Um, I'm thinking of one right now, and if I'm pretty sure that he played for the Dolphins. I'm pretty sure. Um, I'm gonna go because my cousin uses him a lot in Madden, or used to use him a lot in Madden. Um, I'm gonna go with Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace.
Oh, that wins it. All right, so you got Derek Mason, Mike Wallace, Matt Schaub. Just to be clear, my answer here would have been Chad Henne.
I forgot he played for the Dolphins. I mean, not the Dolphins, the Jaguars.
Again, it was a very common answer apparently with the 51%, but I just needed to fill in the square. So just keep in mind that the next time that we do this, I want to be more careful with the percentages of these players that guess,
Okay.
right? Because I would have won had you not done this with a player like this. But if my answer was too common, then I'm trying to think of like an extra rule set here. I'm thinking of
Um,
that a certain range of percentages are more beneficial for us than others.
I
Right?
would say like
So I think that if we I'll let you go first.
between what, like 51 and 90, because the highest player percentage that we had in the last two, I think, was 65 with
It was like 73 with Joe Hayden.
yeah, 73 with Joe Hayden. Yeah. So what between
I'm gonna say any answer um over 45%, I think that automatically goes to our opponent.
Okay, I'll take that one. I'll
So
take that one.
so just as a recap, if you didn't get this square, and then I filled in with this square with Chad Henne, and then my percentage ends up growing higher than 45%, that now becomes your square to use to win.
Okay. Okay.
I can't use that because it was too common of an answer. But then that's 45%. If it's 44, I can still win. Now,
44.5.
because the name of the game is obscurity, I don't know if it goes by like half percentages. Maybe it does here, but that's only because it's lower than 1%. Um, but speaking of which, if we come up with an answer that is in a decimal percentage, I think we need to be rewarded with an extra turn.
Basically, because that was pretty hard to guess. I'm not gonna lie. I'm telling you, the only
So
reason.
from anywhere between like 2% to
And
44%, those are just normal turns for us.
Yeah.
If it's 1% or lower, I think we go again. If it's 45 or higher, I think that point goes to our opponent. And then obviously, if we don't guess the player at all, then
And that's your turn.
we lose that turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just to close out this one, let's go for a Falcons and Texans together since you've already won. What name are you thinking of that fills out the square before we say goodbye to everyone?
Did Sean Witherspoon play for the Texans?
Sean Witherspoon did not, but if we're going off of that era, Dante Robinson did.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to think of a defensive player that we signed from the Texans or that went to the Texans from us.
You want to go with him then?
Yeah, let's do it.
UNTA. And we have a rating score of 110. That's pretty good. Dante Robinson, 3%.
Hey, surprised how many people? Well, no, he was kind of a bust now that I think about it. So never mind.
I mostly remember him for his hard hits.
Yeah.
Which, looking back, may not be the best way to be remembered by.
Hard hits for what, 6 years in the league? Maybe 7?
Well, it was 2004 to 2013.
Well, so 9. 9, pretty decent.
All right, so for the people that are there, you can comment now because we're going to say goodbye to you, and I want to be able to see who we're saying goodbye to after sticking around with us for this long. So appreciate you guys tuning in. We will be back with this. What do you guys think of this? Because obviously last week I didn't have Trey with me, so then we were just kind of going off of everyone else. But now that we've turned this into a head-to-head game, what do you guys think of this approach? And then do you agree with our rules of percentages after that in order to make it more difficult for us? Because I think that if we can agree on the rules and if we can remember them, then we will just keep it that way. And then that's how we can make this grid a more of like a head-to-head game. Also, I want to see who else amongst AFN, or really just anybody, how well they do here. So if you want to be a guest on our show, then you better be prepared when we pull up with this, because I want to give you guys some extra like players and stuff to think about. And it's not just a Falcons related one. We went with the easy one with 3 pretty much easy slots for us to use because we're Falcons fans. I don't want to go off of something like that. So kid gloves are off now. That goes for everyone else that should be familiar with this by now. So just keeping that in mind. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week. Score prediction for the game before we leave. Anybody else in the chat wants to come up with that? And then
we'll just 24. I got 24-13. We'll kick a field goal with like a minute, 5 seconds left to kind of seal the game.
See, I'm gonna go with a little bit more lowish scoring here. I'm going to say you know what? Since I don't look at it often enough, I'm going to look at a scoregami chart and see if we can fill one out with this guess. All right. I want to go low scoring here because I think it's going to be that type of game for us. And if I look at the chart, which I will let you guys see here. All right. So you guys here? So every square in white are scores that have never happened before. Every square in green are scores that did. I want to see if we can come up with a scoregami. Somehow, surprisingly so, there's never been a 14-8 game.
That's very surprising. I'm not going to lie to you.
Given the fact that our coach will go for 2 in random situations, especially down by 14, do you think this is a square in which we could win?
There's also a square which we could lose too. That's kind of the sad thing. Um, we could do that. We could.
Or we just go extra weird and go 15-8.
I don't think we're gonna go for two if we're up because he rarely does that. If he's ever done that at all in the last 3 years. So the more realistic one,
True,
I'll
but that
probably
also means like what?
a
5 field
safe.
goals?
Yeah, either no. Yeah, either 5 field goals, a safety, a touchdown, and 2 field goals, or well, yeah, no, that's it. Either 5 field goals or a safety, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal. Well, no, a touchdown and a field goal, or 2 touchdowns and a mixed extra point, or a failed blunder to attempt to go on for two again.
Yeah, this is the thing about this filling up the sport is that there's so many ways to achieve some of these scores. Um, with this one, I know it was talked about in the video with John Boyce from SB Nation or Secret Base now. But the 6-1 score. Here's the thing. I can't even get that to happen in Madden.
I don't think that's actually possible.
It is. What has to happen is, let's say Team A scores this touchdown, they get 6 points. Team B is the other team to basically get shut out except for this one play where it's after the point after attempt. I don't know if they've updated this rule as like ever since this video was made for it, but I guess since it's still open, then it's still possible. But what has to happen is that the team that's going for 2, I guess in this scenario, would have to end up in their own end zone, 98 yards away. That's how the defense gets rewarded with the defensive 1-point safety.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. That's how it has to happen. So what? So John Boyce mentioned the possibility of this. It's like, hey, let's say that they go for 2, they have a interception, and they try to take it the distance in the same way that Eric Berry took that 2-point conversion on us away. But we stop them just before they cross the pylon. They fumble the ball. We recover it in the end zone, and that's how that 1 point is made.
Holy, that's gotta happen. I don't want it to happen this game, but that is gotta happen.
No,
that has gotta happen one game. I'm telling you.
I've also tried the scenario in Madden of trying to get this 4-4 tie, and can I just say that no matter what Madden that I go to, it is so incredibly hard to get 2 safeties on defense, even with good field position, right? Like I've tried punting, I've tried like missed kicks, I've tried like purposely not scoring on the goal line just so that they can be on the 1-yard line, and then just go an all-out blitz. And for whatever reason, the AI always picks up the blitz on a run play. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah. 4-4 is incredibly hard, especially because that game would have to go in overtime and then nobody would score. So it would have to stay a tie. So, yeah. But yeah, if I'm going to go with the scoregami idea, I think that we could end up with a 14-8 victory.
I'll take that. Hey, a win is a win at the end of the day. A win is a win.
It's just how do they end up? Well, I mean, the Steelers, they ended up with 8 points at one point against the Ravens. They had the safety and then the field goal to make it a 5, and then they kicked another field goal to make it 8 points for them. So that's how they could get it. I don't want to give them a safety, but for all intents and purposes to fill out the square, it can happen.
And for the safety, I mean, yeah. That would be a very ugly, boring game. But hey, ugly and
I'm
boring.
expecting this game to go that way. Like, because we have two good defenses going up against each other, and then 2 offenses going up against each other that just can't get in their own. They just can't get out of their own way. So it's very possible for a low-scoring game to happen here. But, anyways, let's just hope that we come out the victor here. And we've already talked about the ways in which we could. So
2-0 or 99.
Yeah. until that happens, take care. Enjoy tomorrow. And all right, stay safe. See you.